Welcome back, Guardians. Joe Blackburn, game director of Destiny 2, released a video this week about how he and the team was not satisfied with the state of the game article of last week. He said it wasn't up to their standards and he took full responsibility for it. I admire Joe's integrity, but I have to ask the question. Would this video have been made if the community backlash wasn't this severe last week? I don't think so. Many content creators and hardcore players united to express their thoughts on that article, rightfully so I might add. At the beginning of the video, he's talking about the reveal happening next week. I'm going to skip this part as it doesn't include anything technical or noteworthy that will be added to the game. It will mostly be focused around storytelling and lore, so check it out next week if you want. First things first, their attitude towards PvP in the state of the game was just unacceptable, especially since about 1/3 of the player base actively plays PvP in one form or another. Joe acknowledged this in his video he shared on Twitter and stated that we will receive a free map pack next year that will offer something new for every mode in the Crucible. We've been asking for more map packs for years now, so taking back what they said in the state of the game and promising a map pack is a W in my books.
If I'm looking at the sheet next, we've got PvP. So next year, we're going to change our philosophy. Instead of a slow trickle of maps throughout the year, we're going to focus our effort into a single map pack that's free for everyone. So imagine new maps coming in one drop where we can make a bunch of new experiences that can all be good at specific things and adds a big variety in a single drop next year. Now, this is a shift from our strategy, so it's going to take us time to sort of understand the details of what we're putting out here and getting that out to y'all next year.
He also talks about the new modes that will be introduced soon, but I went over those in my previous video about the state of the game article. I'll put the link up in the corner in case you're interested and haven't seen that already. The only disappointing thing here is the fact that when he mentions one of them being a marksmanship-focused mode, he also admits that this has been asked by the community since Destiny 1 was released. And that is a painfully long time to wait for something, especially in video games where staying relevant is the key to success.
Checkmate is a mode all about that sort of primary fire, basic weapon excellence of Bungie games and being able to show that excellence in a PvP setting. It's what a bunch of our really marksman style PvP players have been asking for a long time since Destiny 1. And we're finally going to put a mode like that in the game. And I'm super excited for a bunch of those players to get that experience starting right away in Season 22.
A brief addition to competitive is that now your wins and losses will count more. I don't know what this specifically means, but I think people only play comp if there's a nice reward associated with it, like roles for example. Let's hope that this change will incentivize people to play comp more often, but I have my doubts here.
We've also heard a lot about comp, and particularly about the way that we reward points in comp. So we want to take a new approach to the way that we're balancing points in comp. Right now, we think it's just weighted too much on your personal MMR versus the people you're playing against. And when you win or when you lose a game, it can be really unpredictable how many points you're getting. We're going to go to a simpler system where winning or losing just matters more.
He also mentions a specific PvP strike team that will be focusing on getting things done quickly and efficiently. It will be led by, hold your breath, PvP developers. Shocking news, I know.
We're going to bolster what we call a PvP strike team. Throughout Destiny development, we've built strike teams for efforts before. This has probably been sort of invisible to you all in the audience, but in moments like in between Curse of Osiris and Warmind, we built a strike team for Destiny investment. This team was sort of built around, hey, how can we make it more rewarding and more enjoyable to just get stuff in Destiny 2. This team built stuff very quickly, like what would eventually become the masterworking system. They also went through, knocked out a whole bunch of bugs, knocked out a whole bunch of quality of life issues. We're going to take the same effort and we're going to build a PvP strike team around the same principle, but have it focused on the Crucible. It's going to be led by PvP developers. It has a really interesting playbook for how this works. And that's that first the team decides what they want to do. They as a team get together, say, hey, these are the changes we want to make. Those changes go through me. They go through our systems CD. And then when we say, yep, those are great changes, they immediately get communicated with you all in the community, right? So this will be going out in a Twid, going out in a Twitter post, or going out on Reddit, right? Just sort of some immediate blast, like, hey, these are the changes coming. And those changes get communicated even before they start getting implemented. And then we start getting implemented. We found this formula is a really successful way for us to be able to push through changes quickly into the community. And I think one of the most exciting parts about these strike teams is we build them based off of community feedback. So these strike teams are built from the ground up to look at, hey, what are the pain points that are hitting our community the most? And so all this list is going to be built and burned down from, hey, these are the big issues the PvP community is looking at in Destiny.
I'm not sure how this is going to be different from having the regular PvP team doing stuff. Joe mentions that the team will push their ideas through a shorter chain of command in the company hierarchy and that if they agree to implement these, communications will follow immediately towards the community. From a communications perspective, this is awesome, but I don't know how going around a few managers would significantly shorten development times. I know that having a focused team is great, I just don't know why the regular PvP devs couldn't do anything like this before. The Strike team will try to fix things the community was unsatisfied with, but this should be part of a live service game by default. Live service games need to have a connection between the company that made them and the community that plays them. One cannot exist without the other, so maybe they need to focus more on community feedback in general. It's better than letting things go south than creating another Strike team that can fill in those potholes. Okay, next topic is armors.
I think we're now going to talk about armor. It's probably been a while since we talked about this part about armor, but we might have talked about it before. I want to start with just talking about armor visual categories in Destiny. So at the top, we've got what we call aspirational armor. This is stuff like raids, trials, dungeons. We want the armor that comes from these activities to be flashy or to like really talk about the core of what that experience is. It's really important that when players earn these armors, they feel proud, they want to wear them, they want to show them off in the tower. Next, we've got silver, right? This is armor that you can buy for the store for silver. It's important for us that this feels like it's sort of breaking the mold of what you could expect in a Destiny game. It's our place to experiment with stuff that's a little bit fourth wall breaky. And importantly, we want anyone that spends silver on armor to feel like, hey, it was worth it, right? Like I got my money's worth when I spent this armor, it was cool. Then we have what I call narrative armor. This is the stuff that you'll see in any sort of our marketing trailers. This is the stuff that you earn in the season pass. It's the stuff that you earn in the post game of a campaign. And it's really about driving home what that specific moment in time was. In season 21, it's deep sea diver armor. In Witch Queen, it's a sort of like weird paranormal detective armor. You'll see what it is in the final shape here in a week or so. But that armor for us is really about like driving home this clear, consistent fantasy of like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember that time in Destiny. Finally, we've got rituals and blues. And this space has always sort of been about that core Guardian fantasy. What does the Guardian look like that you would imagine as sort of the stereotypical everyday Guardian, or the Guardian that you see on the front line? Maybe tragically a Guardian that tried to go into the portal of the Traveler and then gets cut up into a million pieces. This is that spot. And we need a lot of armor here to sort of flesh out those fantasies. Now, sometime in the middle of last year, we sort of reevaluated our priorities on armor. And we said, hey, we need to be spending more on the armors that people care the most about, the people that earn, that spend, that do all this to this so they can sort of get these armors in the game. So this is like our PvP stuff and trials, our aspirational stuff in raids and dungeons, our narrative stuff. We thought we weren't consistently hitting the bar enough in those looks. And I think that since that initiative, we've been really successful in this. We've put out great stuff in terms of like cowboy armor for Spire. We've put out awesome stuff in the Root of Nightmares raid. And we've put out a bunch of awesome armor sets for sort of a deep sea fantasy last season and Season of the Deep. Now, what we failed to do when we reprioritized, hey, where are our resources going, is communicate this to you. So we knew that when we made this change, we weren't going to be able to make a ritual armor set every single year. And we thought, okay, well, that's fine. We have a lot that fits this sort of base Guardian fantasy, but we should have communicated that out to you. And so one, I'd like to say, this is not a thing that we're never going to invest in. We're investing in it again in the final shape. There's going to be a whole nother ritual suite of armor. And we're excited to sort of replenish that base Guardian fantasy. But just because we're doing that in the final shape year, that doesn't mean that we communicated this soon enough. So also for this year, we want to take an armor set that we were going to put in the Eververse, and we're saying, no. We should have communicated this earlier. It's really important that our fans can trust us. Let's take this armor set that we were going to use in season 22 for the Eververse set, and let's say, no, it's going to be free, and we're going to put it as a ritual rewards. So next season, before the end of the season, you should see a brand new armor set that you can earn through playing Strikes, Crucible, Gambit as like a ritual reward for doing this, a brand new armor look. Again, we're confident in our strategy going forward. We believe this is the right priority going forward, but also it's our responsibility to communicate this stuff sooner. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by all the fans.
Just to recap what he said, there are 4 tiers of armors based on their visuals. First is aspirational. Second is store-bought armor. These are experimental and fourth wall breaking, which will be relevant in a second. Third is narrative/seasonal. And the fourth is core Guardian Fantasy armors, aka ritual armor pieces. So basically, as an apology for their failed communications, which I don't think is true, they'll put armors intended for the cash up into the game as ritual rewards in Season 22. I mentioned this as well in my previous video, that they don't have time to design ritual armors, but somehow the Eververse store gets new drops every season. Jumping back to their visual tier list combined with what I complained about. I wanted them to focus on putting as much effort into ritual armor as they put into store armor, not to put store armor directly into the game as free rewards. They literally said that store armor pieces are experimental and or fourth wall breaking so that they feel a bit out of the ordinary. As a contrast, narrative or ritual armor was supposed to be about what you would expect a stereotypical Guardian to look like on the forefronts of the battlefield. Do you see why I'm confused here? The video finishes with Joe saying that their developers and staff members will be communicating more with us using their branded accounts on their socials. He said that this is to protect their identities and safeguard them from people of the community hating and threatening them in the past. I feel like threatening anyone, either in person or on the internet, should be punishable by the law, and I think that this is a safer alternative for them to interact with us in the future. Joe himself will be streaming a couple of times next season where he'll be playing the game and we can chat with him, ask questions and so on. I just hope that people will behave in these streams so that this will become a tradition in the future rather than a nuisance for them. These are all my thoughts on the communication posted by Joe Blackburn earlier this week. To be fair, I welcome most of the additions and changes they made, I just wish they'd realized these earlier. Still, I'm happy about almost all the points he mentions, and I wish him and the Destiny team a bright future, where their company and the community works together to keep forming the game into a better shape, the final shape. Thank you all for watching this video. Liking, commenting and subscribing to my channel helps me a ton to focus more of my time on this channel. If you have anything to share with us, don't hesitate to do so. I'd like the comment section to be grounds for great discussions and expressing your thoughts regarding the game and this communication. See you all next week, Guardians.
Your victory gives the city hope.